Good morning, everyone. Dear students, I am Dr. Rajni CV. Today I will be discussing practical criticism. What do we mean by practical criticism? Practical criticism is all about reading and analyzing an unseen poem or unseen text without knowing the background or the backdrop or the time when the text was written. We have to read the poem or a text and analyze as the words on the page. Who was invented this? Who was the person who introduced this procedure of criticism? Practical criticism was a literary procedure. It was introduced by the critic I.A. Richards. When he was working at Cambridge University, he used to give poems to his students and he asked them to do a criticism without knowing the name of the poet or the time when they were written. In his book Practical Criticism, he had mentioned all the results of his experiments. An academic procedure, practical criticism, was a brainchild of I.A. Richards. It is based on his experiments he did at Cambridge University. He had given a concept called four kinds of meaning. In this concept, he tells us that there are four kinds of meaning: sense, feeling, tone, intention. With all these meaning, a poem or a text makes sense to readers. According to I.A. Richards, sense means whatever the speaker speaks in the text is sense. Feeling, the emotional approach towards the subject. The writer's emotional approach towards the subject is known as feeling. Tone, tone refers to the attitude of speaker towards his listener. Intention, intention is nothing but the purpose of speaker. Let us read a poem and try to do a practical criticism of the poem without knowing the poet's name, the time when it was written, or the circumstances when the poem was produced. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from prize. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Let us look at the form of the poem before going to explanation or meaning of the poem. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. The poem has 14 lines and each line consists 5 metrical feet, and unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable. So we know that the line which consists 5 metrical feet of unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable is known as iambic pentameter. We knew that sonnets usually written in iambic pentameter, and sonnet is a 14 line poem. So we can uh, consider the poem a sonnet. And if you look at the rhyme scheme of the poem, uh, the first 8 lines rhymed after ABBA, ABBA, and the remaining 6 lines rhymed after C, D, C, D, C, D. So, uh, the sonnet is written in Petrarchan sonnet form, and the poem is divided into two parts. The first 8 lines, we knew that in Petrarchan sonnet form, first 8 lines are known as octave, and later 6 lines are known as sestet. The form of the poem is sonnet, and the poem is written in Petrarchan sonnet form. Let us look at other literary devices or figure of speeches used in the poem. If we closely observe the poem, we can find out that the poet or the writer has used many literary devices and figure of speeches in order to express, in order to enhance the feeling or expression the poet wanted to tell here. Form of the poem, as I said earlier, the poem is a sonnet and the poem is divided into two parts, octave and sestet. Literary devices. Assonance. The poet has used a literary devices called assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line, such as the sound of E and I. I love thee freely as men strive for right, and so on. The poet has used metaphor when the poet tells us that the poet wants to love in such a way that the poet's soul can reach height, breadth, and depth. Here, the poet making a comparison between his soul or her soul and physical three-dimensional object. Other literary devices like anaphora. Anaphora refers to the repetition of word or expression in the first part of verse. For example, the word love is repeated to emphasize her or his feelings towards the partner. Imagery. Imagery is used to make readers to use their senses to perceive the meaning of the poem. Imagery helps readers to visualize the idea of the speaker. Hyperbole. Hyperbole is a literary device used to exaggerate one's idea. Here in the poem, the poet uses physical three-dimensional things to tell us that how much the poet loves his or her beloved or spouse. Let us look at the poem, summary of the poem. The poem opens with a question. How do I love thee? A rhetorical question, or the poet asking himself or herself, how do he or she loves, how does she or he love the partner, his or her partner. And the poem can be seen as a list of loving, the ways of loving a partner. And the speaker opens the poem by saying that let me count the ways. The poet wants to count the ways he or she can love his partner, his or her partner. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach. The poet tells us that the poet loves in such a way that the every dimension, every minute part of the spouse is loved by the speaker. It shows a very passionate love towards the partner. The speaker describes the ways in which the speaker loves his or her partner. The speaker wants to presence wants the poet wants the presence of his or her beloved or the partner every moment of the life. The poet wants the presence, wants love, wants the companionship of his or her partner by sun and candlelight. Every moment of the life, she or he wants the companionship of the partner. I love thee freely as men strive for right. The speaker in the poem tells us that every man strives for right. Uh, every human being strives for individual right. Similarly, the speaker in the poem wants to love just like that. I love thee purely as they turn from prize. The speaker in the poem tells us that the speaker's love is very pure, very humble, and selfless, just like the people who do work without expecting, without intention of getting rewards. Just like that, the speaker in the poem loves the partner. ಈ ಪದ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಪದ್ಯವನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ನೋಡಬಹುದು ಅಂದರೆ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರೇಯಸಿ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮನನ್ನು ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ, ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿ ಅವರ ಕಂಪ್ಯಾನಿಯನ್ಶಿಪ್ನ, ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಇರುವಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಬಯಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ತುಂಬ ಪ್ಯಾಷನೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡೋರಿಂದ ತುಂಬ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಗಿಫ್ಟ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ತುಂಬ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಐಷಾರಾಮಿ ವಸ್ತುಗಳನ್ನ ಬಯಸೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಸಮಯವನ್ನು ಕಳೆಯೋದು, ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇರೋದು, ಅವರ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇರೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಬಯಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂಥ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪೋಯಮ್ ಟೆಲ್ಸ್ ಅಸ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ದ presence of his or her partner by sun and candlelight. ಪ್ರತಿ ಗಳಿಗೆ, ಜೀವನದ ಪ್ರತಿ ಗಳಿಗೇನು ಅವ್ರು ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಮೆನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈವ್ ಫಾರ್ ರೈಟ್. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ತಮ್ಮ ತಮ್ಮ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳಿಗಾಗಿ ಹೋರಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ತಮ್ಗೇನು ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಹೋರಾಡುವಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ಏನನ್ನು ಬಯಸದೆ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ದೇ ಟರ್ನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್, ಹೇಗೆ ತಮಗೆ ಪ್ರಶಂಸೆ ಬೇಕು, ತಾವು ಹೋರಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನುವ ಹೆಸರು ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಬಯಸದೆ ಒಂದು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಕಾಜಿಗಾಗಿ ಹೋರಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ವ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ಅಷ್ಟು ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ಲೆಸ್ ಆಗಿ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಶುದ್ಧವಾಗಿ ತನ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಯತಮನನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರೇಯಸಿಯನ್ನು ಇವರು ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಐ ಲವ್ ದ ವಿತ್ ದ ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಪುಟ್ ಟು ಯೂಸ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಗ್ರೀವ್ಸ್. The speaker in the poem looking at the love of the partner as if the solution or answers for all the griefs the speaker had undergone. ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ತಾವೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಹಿಂದೆ, ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಷ್ಟಗಳಿಗೆ ಇವರ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಉತ್ತರವಾಗಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೇನೋ ಅನ್ನುವ ಹಾಗೆ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Simultaneously, the speaker in the poem looks at the love of the partner as from childhood's fate. ಬಾಲ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಗ್ಧ ನಂಬಿಕೆ, ಮುಗ್ಧ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವ, ಅಂಥ ಮುಗ್ಧ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ನಂಬಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಅವರ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯನ್ನು ಇವರು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಐ ಲವ್ ದಿ ವಿತ್ ಅ ಲವ್ ಐ ಸೀಮ್ ಟು ಲೂಸ್ ವಿತ್ ಮೈ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಸೇಂಟ್ಸ್. ದ ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಪೋಯಮ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೇತ್ ಇನ್ ಸೇಂಟ್ಸ್. ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಸೈನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ, ಜೀವನದ ಒಂದು ಕಾಲಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ. ಆದರೆ ಅದೇನಾಗಿದೆ, ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆದರೆ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುವಂತಹ ನಂಬಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಇವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಈ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. As I said earlier, the speaker in the poem wants the presence of the partner every moment of life. Just like that, the speaker in the poem loves, ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಆ, ಪ್ರಿಯಕರನನ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರೇಯಸಿಯನ್ನ. ಹೇಗೆ ಜೀವನದ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಉಸಿರಾಟದಲ್ಲಿ, ನಗುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಳುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಅಪ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೌನ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಎಲ್ಲದನ್ನ ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಹರ್ಡಲ್ಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಅಬ್ಸ್ಟಕಲ್ಸ್ the speaker may face in the life, the speaker wouldn't turn his face, wouldn't turn from the love he or she has for the partner. ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇ ಕಷ್ಟಗಳು ಬಂದ್ರೂ ಅವ್ರು ಪ್ರೀತಿಸುವ ರೀತಿ, ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಆರಾಧಿಸುವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯೂ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇಫ್ ಗಾಡ್ ಚೂಸ್, ಇಫ್ ಗಾಡ್ ಪರ್ಮಿಟ್ಸ್, ಐ ಶಲ್ ಬಟ್ ಲವ್ ದಿ ಬೆಟರ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೆತ್. ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ದೇವರು ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ದೇವರು ನನಗೆ ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ, ಐ ಶಲ್ ಬಟ್ ಲವ್ ದಿ ಬೆಟರ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೆತ್. ಈವನ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೆತ್ ಐ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಲವ್ ಯು, ಈವನ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಡೆತ್ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಲವ್ ಯು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸಾವಿನ ನಂತರ ಕೂಡ ದೇವರೇನಾದರೂ ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ನಾನು ನಿನ್ನನ್ನು ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತೇನೆ ಅಂತ. ದ ಹೋಲ್ poem is a very passionate expression of love towards a partner. ತಾವು ಹೇಗೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವೆನೆವರ್ ದ ಪೋಯಟ್ ರೆಫರ್ಸ್ ಟು ಸೋಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೆತ್, ಗಾಡ್, ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ a spiritual meaning to the poem that in spite of physical absence, ಅಂದರೆ ದೇಹ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗಲೂ, ದೈಹಿಕ ಪ್ರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಆ ಭಾವನೆ, ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನ, ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ವಾಂಛೆಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅನ್ನುವ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ನ ಪೋಯಮ್ಗೆ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಲ್ ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಗಿವನ್ ಟು ದ ಪೋಯಮ್ ವೆನೆವರ್ ವಿ ಲುಕ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಸೋಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೇಂಟ್ಸ್, ಗಾಡ್. ಈ ದೇಹ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗಲೂ, ಈ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗಲೂ ಒಬ್ಬರನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಪದ್ಯ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟುಡೇ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರೀಡ್ ದ poem again and again. Whenever we read poem again and again, we will get new insights, new meanings to the words and lines. A practical criticism is all about getting new meaning and getting new insights of the poem or a text. So keep reading and get good insights from the poem. Thank you.